Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com, and I want to tell you why I hate teleconverters. But before I do that, I want to share what Nikon defines a teleconverter as on their website. And I quote, "A teleconverter allows you to increase the apparent focal length of a lens, giving you a greater telephoto effect than a lens alone. A teleconverter is basically a magnifying lens that is placed between the camera body and lens." That sounds great, right? You can simply buy one zoom lens like a 70-300, purchase a 2x converter, and when you need more reach, slap it on and get a 140-600mm equivalent lens. It's that simple, isn't it? Nope. In theory, it sounds like a simple, affordable fix for getting more reach, but in reality, you will be highly disappointed. The reason I'm making this video is so that you don't make the same mistake that I made when I was 14 years old, when I thought that I could simply add my 2x converter to my 100-300mm 5.6 Canon lens and instantly get closer to the action and still get shots just as good as if I didn't have the converter on. Where most people go wrong with teleconverters is they don't realize the cause and effect it has on their settings. When I ordered a 2x converter from the back of one of those photo magazines when I was 14, the salesperson didn't ask me what lens I was putting it on. They didn't explain what would happen as soon as I put it on my lens. So when I went out to shoot my first baseball game with the 2x teleconverter on the 100-300 5.6, I was in for a huge shock. As soon as I looked through the viewfinder, nothing was clear. It was like looking through fog. On top of that, the lens wouldn't focus properly. Why was this the case? Why was everything darker? Why was the focus so bad? Here are the facts. When you put a 2x converter on any lens, your aperture is going to go up 2 stops. If you put a 1.4x converter on a lens, it's going to go up 1 stop. My 5.6 became an f11. I lost 2 stops of light. Now, because I lost 2 stops of light, my shutter speed had to slow way down and was probably around 1/125th of a second at f11 with what was probably 400 ISO film at the time. And when you're trying to photograph action, that loss of light is going to lead to terrible images, most likely blurry images when you're shooting action. But what about today with newer cameras, lenses, and teleconverters? Do you still have the same issues? You'll always have the loss of light issue, period. No matter how you slice it, a 2x converter is going to cost you 2 stops of light. But with that being said, ISO in today's cameras can be pushed even further and still give you quality, clean results. On top of that, Canon and Nikon both make 200-400 and a 180-400 f4 respectively, with a built-in 1.4 teleconverter that can pop in and pop out. When you take off the lid right here and we move this switch right on the side, we go from the 1x, which is regular, and then boom, 1.4. You can watch the optic move in and move out. Now those are amazing lenses, but they will set you back 10 grand, and I still think that they're not super tack sharp. Let's take a look at a few examples from modern cameras with teleconverters. This image was taken with the Sony A1 with the 400 2.8 and a 2x Sony converter, giving me an 800mm f4. Is it tack sharp? No, it's not. Does that matter if it's being used on the web or magazine or Instagram or a newspaper? Not really, because it will still look fine at the end of the day. But would it have the same sharpness if I didn't use the converter and simply just cropped in? I'm gonna say yes, because the lens focuses better without the converter. No matter what Sony, Canon, or Nikon try to tell you, and they try to say that it's all digital and it focuses just as fast, it doesn't. It just seems to not be able to get those images super duper tack sharp. These next images were taken with the A1 along with the 400 2.8, which had a 1.4 converter on it. When you zoom in, you can see it's not sharp. It's just off. It looks off. It feels slightly off. But this image right here is without the converter and cropped to closely mimic what the frame would look like if I had a 1.4 converter on it. Doesn't it just look sharp? Doesn't it look better? The edges are more defined, the focus is more accurate, and the overall image just looks better. By the way, even after cropping that image, it's still a 21 megapixel file. Let me jump in here real quick because I want to show you FroPak 3 in action on this photo taken with the Canon EOS R5. We're going to start with one click with Fifth Element, and boom, followed by Eckert, which looks great. Then we're going down to November Rain. Look at how that looks. Prestige Worldwide gives us that more realistic look. And then we've got Winnebago right here. But I want to scroll up to FroPak 1 because I want to show you with one click what Skittles does. Now, Skittles gets us pretty close. Now, if you're looking to speed up your raw workflow or give yourself a great starting point, we created 15 all-new custom Lightroom presets that you can check out right now at FroKnowsPhoto.com/FroPak3. While you're over there, you can play with the sliders to see the befores and the afters. And if you'd like to pick them up right now, they are currently on sale. Or if you want to grab Skittles, which is in FroPak 1, and you want to get FroPak 2 and 3 together, you can save even more with the triple play bundle. Now, let's get back to the video. Now, those examples were all fixed aperture, super high-end lenses. But what happens when you take a variable aperture lens and toss a 2x converter on it? We took the Canon 100-500 4.5-7.1, put a 2x converter on it, and slapped it gently onto an R5 to get this shot at 1000 millimeters. The settings are 1/2000th of a second f/14 at ISO 8000. Now, before you yell at me and say, but Jared, you don't need to shoot that sign at 1/2000th of a second. No shit. I selected 1/2000th of a second to mimic what a bird photographer or action photographer might use to freeze the action that they're shooting. Versus this image taken at 500 millimeters without the converter at 1/2000th of a second at f/7.1, ISO 2000, and it's cropped. The cropped version is simply cleaner and you have plenty of pixels to spare. Now, it's cleaner because you're not losing light. When you don't lose light, you can keep the ISO lower, which results in better color, better tones, and better sharpness. Now, keep in mind, if you have an older camera that doesn't have a lot of megapixels, you won't be able to crop as far. Look, some pros can get away with using high-end gear and teleconverters because they're starting at 2.8 and f/4 and can maintain the quality for the most part because they're using super expensive stuff. That's what it's meant for. But the everyday lenses, the variable aperture 5.6 to 7.1s with converters just aren't worth it, in my opinion. Sure, you can get more reach if quality doesn't matter, if sharpness and color don't matter, and if focus speed really doesn't matter to you, put that crappy Vivitar 2x converter on your camera and lens and call it a day. But don't complain to me when your photos look like crap. At the end of the day, my goal with this video is to dissuade you from the thinking that in order to get more focal length, all you need to do is buy a converter and you'll be all set. As I explained, there's more downsides to using one than upsides. If you have something like a Sigma 150-600, for example, on a full frame or crop sensor camera, and that's not enough reach for you, I don't know what to tell you other than get closer. And if you tell me you can't get closer, then what's the point of even taking the picture in the first place if you can't fill the frame? Plus, the atmosphere is going to start to get in the way when you're shooting at 1600 millimeters. Look, if you're a private investigator and the quality doesn't matter to you, then slap all the converters on any lens that you want and then just be happy with what you get. Just know it's not going to be great. Don't fall for the trap of teleconverters. If you have a basic zoom lens, don't waste your money on a converter thinking it will give you great results, because it won't. Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.